Can you hear me? No, you still can't hear me?
Check. Mine's working.
Yours working? All right, there we go. All right, hey, good morning again. At this time, we're going to start our budget workshop, and I would need to be excused around 10 a.m. I actually have a funeral service today that I have to go to for one of our church members. I'll be leading that service today, so I'll need to leave around 10 a.m. to get there in a timely manner. And so sort of the layout for today is we can open up with any preliminary questions that we might have just to catch us up on any changes over the past couple of weeks. And then we'll go into the budget presentation by the finance department. And then once we go through that, ask all of our questions there. And then there'll be a time to open up to the public to ask whatever questions they have themselves. Typically, we've already had our one-on-ones with the commissioners before we have the budget workshop. Therefore, some of our questions are not as scrutinizing because we've already had many of those already answered. However, today is really more of our first 105 or 5-on-5 per se. And so as we do ask different questions today, it's because we are getting this information just as raw as you all are getting it in the audience today. So some of our questions will be more scrutinizing and more detail oriented because we haven't received all of this information before today. So I guess for me, I know there were some things that happened, I guess, at the last city commission meeting in regards to finances. And I'm sure we're going to go over some of this today, but just want to get an understanding of what is our current general fund balance? Where are we on that currently?
The fund balance?
Yeah, general fund. How much money do we have in the bank?
That's a different question.
Or how much is in our reserve? Or because I'm hearing that, and the reason I'm asking that because
I have a presentation, Mayor.
Right.
I'm going to go through.
I may not be here for that. That's why I'm asking these questions now.
All of those things that you asked me are different numbers.
Okay, well, let me ask this, because people are asking me, is the city broke? So on one end, we said we had 19 million. On the other end, people are saying, hey, we're broke. We're going to be broke in 2 years. We're going to be worse than all the other cities in Bay County. So trying to get a little clarity on that.
I absolutely understand, and that's my intention, to give you as much clarity on all of those
Right.
numbers as
I may not be here for that, so I'm asking now, are we broke?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do we still have $18.4 million in the bank?
No.
Okay. So what do we have now?
There's $47 million at Hancock. Did I quote that correctly? This morning, there's $46,766,720 at Hancock.
Okay.
There's roughly $5 million at Ameris.
All right. So roughly 51 million
in cash.
In cash.
That covers all of our obligations, and much of it is restricted for specific purposes.
Okay.
And Kiki, that does include our enterprise funds, water, sewer, sanitation,
Yes,
all of this.
All right. So
Funds that can only be used a certain way, right?
Correct.
Right.
Impact fees, for example. Debt service, for another example.
okay.
You're talking just the whole enchilada.
All the cash that
Yeah,
the city currently is in charge of is that $46 million number that I just gave you. That's today's number. It's just a snapshot.
All right. And there's questions about the debt servicing. Of course, I know you're going to cover that.
Yes.
But one question I was asked is, would we have, without the disaster recovery bond, without a Hurricane Michael, would we still have debt in the city of Lynn Haven, even if we didn't have that disaster recovery bond?
Of course, yes.
Okay. I see we're getting paperwork on the fund cash flow projection. So basically, we still just owe Culpeper $314 is what we owe them.
Roughly $315. That does not take into account any liquidated damages that the city negotiates with Culpeper.
Okay. And the liquidated damages.
And there are It does not include, I believe,
There's four change orders
change
that are
orders.
unaccounted for in that. They're minimal change orders, so they won't have a huge effect on that $315,000 number.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I guess in regards to the debt servicing in general or our balances, some citizens have asked, is there a way that we could have like a sort of a monthly updated calculator posted online? Therefore, the citizens know where we actually are in those balances. Like, for example, with the debt services, if there could be a monthly calculator saying,
there is and has been for years a document on the website.
right, but we're asking,
It
Yeah,
doesn't
but-
change daily. It changes.
not asking for daily, but each month so the citizens will know.
It gives you at the end of the fiscal year. That document,
I understand, but right now, citizens are saying we're not being transparent financially. So this is a question regarding financial transparency for the citizens.
absolutely understand
Mayor, we could
that.
have the debt service form on the website. We could update it monthly or quarterly, whatever the commission desires. However,
Payments-
the numbers will not change drastically, but we can
Right.
update it just so it's aware that it is changed. You know, the form has changed and this is the current one. It's government debt service. It's not like our normal house payment or car
Right.
payment where you're making a payment every month. It's either a semi-annual or quarterly or annual payment.
Yeah,
So that number may not change, but we can update the website accordingly to show that debt service.
Each of the obligations have biannual payments. Each of the obligations have different calendars. The debt service schedule that has been on the website for years has supporting schedules showing when every single one of those payments are due, how much is interest, how much is principal.
and I do understand that. But also, is that ease access for the citizens to go and attain? Because right now they're saying, hey, we can't easily attain that. Because I understand that it's in our packet, but they're also asking if we could extract that information and then place it on the website specifically just for that and update that accordingly for the calendar so that at any point the citizens can know this is where we are with our debt. This is where we are with our funds, specifically the general fund, maybe not so much the enterprise funds or other funds, but specifically, hey, this is where we are with our general fund. Those are the questions I'm being asked by citizens, if that's what we could do
I will happily furnish any and all information you instruct me to furnish.
Okay.
And Mayor, I will say, along with what the citizens are saying, the website is sometimes difficult to navigate, especially if you don't understand the actual layout of the website. That is on our list of continuing to update the website and make it more user-friendly. So on the finance section, we could create a button where you hit that button and it brings up a debt service page right then. Instead of having to dig through the entire 200-page document of the budget, we can make it where it's just a one-sheet or a PDF of that debt service on the finance department.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other preliminary questions before we get started?
Just so that, I guess to save you time, one of my main questions is when we're looking at the budget, when it says cash carry forward. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that term. What does that mean?
Cash carry, Florida statute tells us that we must balance the budget every year. There are only 3 ways to do that. Spend exactly the amount of money you bring in, spend more than you bring in, and take money away from the piggy bank that you've saved from years past. That's cash carry forward. Going to take money from previous year's savings to fund the current year. Or if you spend less than you bring in, the difference is put into what we're calling in the document reserves. Legally speaking, it isn't reserves. It's the piggy bank.
All right. Anything else? All right. Take it away.
Thank you. Harold, if you'd put up the presentation, please. Thank you. So, as you asked me at the beginning here, the financial position of the city. We are solvent. We are meeting all of our financial obligations. You have no concerns about liquidity, as demonstrated by the cash number that I just gave you a few moments ago. We are making our payroll. My first phone call after the meeting when I expressed concerns about writing checks, I called a banking professional who assured me that we could continue on with any city employee. As far as the bank was concerned, Mrs. Hodges' signature was valid. We've done some internal record keeping to make sure that internally we're following our policies. As of today, she is still the signer on all the accounts. But payroll is being met, AP is being met. So a little bit about fund accounting. Fund accounting is something that is used by governments and not-for-profit institutions. Fund accounting is a system used to track the money allocated to various operations. It keeps money organized. Each of these funds have a balance sheet and an income statement like you would have in your personal businesses. Think of each fund like a separate jar for a different purpose. Unlike regular business accounting, which is for all about profits, fund accounting tracks where every dollar comes from and where it is spent. You hear me talk about general fund. That typically is most of the city's operation that services the public in general. Public safety, police, fire, recreation and sports, parks and grounds, finance. Those are all general fund, HR, all general fund type organizations. The enterprise funds are what we refer to as sewer, water, stormwater, and sanitation. Those are enterprise funds. They are meant to work as a business would. So the people utilizing those services pay for those services, and the intent is to build a small reserve to keep those enterprise funds solvent should hard times come. The city currently has more than a dozen active funds. The general fund, the number assigned to it is 001, but typically we just refer to it as general fund, includes revenues from taxes, permits and fees, charges for services, fines, interest income, sales of vehicles and equipment, and covers expenses from much of the city's operations, as I just highlighted. There are separate funds for water, sewer, stormwater, sanitation, and disasters. Fund 101, which will be my focus here in just a moment, is the city's disaster recovery fund to track revenue and expenses for Hurricane Michael. It's the only thing that is in Fund 101. And when we're talking about the City Hall rebuild, we have three specific external parties that were involved in the rebuild. Culpeper was the general contractor. Florida Architects was the designer and project manager. And Tetra Tech continues to be our consultant. They help us with filling out the forms and submitting the request for reimbursements. The general fund, as of this morning, had roughly $17.9 million in cash. Expenses for many of the city's operation are paid from the general fund. My salary, the salaries of most of the people in the room here. Revenues from various sources fund the general fund, taxations, permits and fees, that sort of thing. The cash balance in the bank is just a snapshot. It's just today. Pending payments and obligations must be considered when looking at cash balances. It's an overused analysis, but it's one piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle. So considering one number does not give you the full picture of the city's financial health. Focusing on one dollar value does not give you the entire picture. One person, let me give you an example of how this works. One person has $1,500 balance in the bank. Second person has $7,000 in the bank. Can you tell who is in the better financial position just with those two numbers? First person with $1,500 in the bank is a teenager living at home. The second person has a family of four, $2,500 mortgage payment, $600 truck payment, $300 of utilities, $750 food bill. You get the idea, right? So your cash balance, who's in the better position now? Can you tell? Teenager is actually in a better financial position with a $1,500. I give you this example to keep in mind when we're talking about cash balances and the number that was quoted over and over and over again. Please keep this example in mind. You need more than one piece to the 1,000-piece puzzle.
So with that in mind, is the city, if I'm understanding you, the city is financially solvent.
Yes, sir.
The city is healthy.
Yes, sir.
We don't have any concerns about our financial standing right now.
I have concerns about how we're going to handle the rest of the bond, the 2019 bond, which is what I was trying to convey at the last meeting. And I'll be going through that in a moment.
Okay.
The city continues to negotiate with FEMA for any and all allowable reimbursements. Some, as I go through the documents, I will explain to you what we're trying to make sure we apply for legally, and some things that we are not going to be allowed to apply for. First document in the packet that I left for the audience of the white sheets, document on the top says Disaster Recovery Fund cash balance projection as of July 18th. These numbers have changed just based on dates, but this is the document I had with me at the last meeting, and this is the document I sent out for public records requests. So I have not updated this because I thought it might be confusing if the numbers changed from what I have sent out to the public. The cash flow statement is...
May I interrupt?
Of course.
This is at the time of the meeting when there was just three of us. This is what you wanted to present, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then I know I've caught a little flack because I stopped you, but I thought this would be the best environment for you to do this.
And I am happy to have the time allotted to do this because it is
Yes,
complex and requires explanation. A cash flow statement, it is a standard business document that government entities, not-for-profits, enterprise businesses all use. A way to tell what your bank balance is going to look like in the future. That's the purpose of this document. Again, on July 18th, the restoration account, which is part of 101, Fund 101, had $2,500. The disaster bond account had $2,452,000. Equity in pooled cash was in a negative position of $313,000, leaving a sum balance of $2,141,000. We were getting ready to make a debt service payment that you asked me about earlier. That actually happened on July 25th. That $2,455,000 was taken out of the disaster bond account on July 25th. So at the time that I did this document, I was projecting that Fund 101 would be in a negative cash position of $314,000. The next part of this are the inflows. Our major accounts receivable, meaning money we anticipate receiving in the future, $5,835,000. I got that number off of the Florida PA website that records all the transactions for Hurricane Michael. That number changes. That number is going to change. We're going to try and increase the number, but I know that there are going to be some reductions. These are living documents. I am only giving you progress reports. These are not final reports. Hurricane Michael, the accounting side of it, will probably go on for 2 or 3 more years before it's finalized with the federal government. Consider these working documents.
So the inflows for the accounts receivable, that's what we have in the bank now from FEMA, or that's what we're anticipating to receive?
That's what we're trying to get FEMA to pay for.
Okay.
And Mayor, there are some things, and we will be bringing those to you all in the coming months. There are some things that we will not get. So as Ms. Roman says, that number may go down, but there are some things we are still fighting for, so it could also bring it up. We don't know yet, but we will continue to update the commission as we have those discussions with Tetra Tech and FEMA.
Okay.
And there are some things that we will discuss when we get to the budget portion as well, that have an effect on that $5.8 million.
I have a question. The 101 account, the Hurricane Michael account, where, as you said, it's ran out of money and we're in the negative 313,000. My question is, I don't know the history of how that account was funded. How did that account get money into it?
The FEMA reimbursements, insurance recovery, and the bond proceeds,
Okay. Makes sense.
and the interest.
Right. Okay.
So when we have to make these payments and then it's out of money, we have to take it out of the general fund, right?
Correct.
Thanks.
So we're going to transfer any money from the general fund to cover that 314?
I'm not going to do that quite yet because we do have a reimbursement in the pipeline. It may come in the next couple of months. I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000.
Okay.
But let's say worst case scenario, if we don't get the money that we're hoping for, that money would have to come out of the reserves to cover the debt service payment every
You are
year.
correct, yes. So the other outflows to be considered, the Culpeper balance, which again, were 4, I believe it's 4 change orders are not included in this, and whatever the city negotiates for liquidated damages. So that number will change. The rest of the projects for fiscal 25, this I will explain a little bit later, but that's what's currently in the budget. Then the debt service in 26, the debt service in 27, that brings us, my best estimate as of July 18th was at 8/1/27. Fund 101 would be in a negative cash position of $1.4 million, meaning that is when we'd start transferring money from general fund.
So that's when we would transfer from of course, you're saying it's 17.9 today, but we would transfer from that 17.9 to cover the 1.4.
Correct.
And if we were to do that today, then we would still have 16.5 approximately.
That math works, but it doesn't consider anything else.
I understand that, but just trying to keep it clear for the public,
Gotcha.
because they're just looking at we're 1.4 negative and not, as you mentioned, taking into consideration, we still have the 17.9 that we can cover that with if needed today, which would still give us a balance of 16.4. Of course, notwithstanding all the other debts that we have or payments we need to make, but just for that clarity.
General operational expenditures.
And just to clarify too, we would have a balance today of 16.4, but we still would have a debt service payment due of 17,260,000. So it does, offset each one. There is a debt service payment that comes out, so it goes down a little bit every year.
Got it. So with the 17, I know we're going to discuss this later, but just for clarity of mind for me now, with the 17 plus million dollar debt service payment, that's not to still be all paid at once.
That is correct.
We're still going to pay that off over
This
a
this
period of time.
bond is due in fiscal year 2033.
Got it. Okay. I think that was some of the concern I was getting, was that people thought that we had to pay all of that 17 million at one time, versus, as we've actually been putting on the sheets, as you mentioned, it's been on the sheet that this is what that bond looks like being paid off over the next.
2.8 million every year until fiscal 33.
Mayor, the main discussion will be, of course, the budget, but as well as how financially frugal the city needs to be in the coming years to ensure that we pay off this debt service according to plan without
Okay.
having to refund the bond or anything.
Sounds great.
The second document that I handed out in this packet has a series of bars. You can't really see it on the screen. There are three blue bars and one pink bar at the top. This is a report that I also get from the Florida PA website. This is all of the projects that FEMA has approved for Hurricane Michael to the city of Lynn Haven. And if you look down at the bottom of the eligible amount, you'll see the number $48,558,000. That's all in. If we did every project that was originally presented for approval at the funding level that they gave us. The blue bars, the first blue bar at the top, it says 1383, City of Lynn Haven Police Council Chambers, $3,952,000. As you remember, before Hurricane Michael, we had two buildings, police station in the council chambers and City Hall. That's why FEMA has this in two different numbers. They gave us close to $4 million for the police station and the council chambers. The second blue bar down, Lynn Haven Historic City Hall, which is how we're referring to the building on the corner. They gave us $84,000 for this amount, for that project, excuse me. And then the third blue bar at the bottom, Lynn Haven Building Contents. That's $1.2 million. We have applied for $732,000 for this building. We're also applying for content for the sports complex and some other things that we're continuing to research. If you add those three blue bars, the City Hall total that FEMA has funded, $5,293,000. Now the pink bar, if you look at the description, there's a 428 in parentheses before that. FEMA refers to 428 projects as being fungible, meaning the city has been given this money and can use it for other projects if they do not decide to do that project. So Lynn Haven, Old Bayou, Bailey Bridge, we were awarded $1.4 million. We did not do the work on the Old Bailey Bridge. We are using that $1.4 million. We're taking that 428 project and assigning it to what's called the parent. And the parent is the current City Hall building that you're sitting in. So the pink bar at the bottom of the spreadsheet says City Hall totals include Bailey Bridge 428 project. That's $6,779,000. We also have received insurance. The insurance money for the entire disaster, all city assets, $18.8 million. Only a portion applies to this building. Tetra Tech tells me that portion is $3,791,000. I have not had access to those insurance documents. We're still researching to try and find them. All I can tell you is this is what Tetra Tech tells me the insurance money for this building is. Questions about this document? The next document, this is the actual cost. Oh, excuse me. I have a summary here. The city has written checks for $17,562,770 for the City Hall rebuild and still owes $451,519 in open purchase orders, bringing the total cost of this building to $18,014,289. The next page in the paper document.
So with this, if I'm seeing this, the actual construction was the 15.3 million, and that's actually for City Hall, Chambers, Police Department as well.
This building and the building on the corner.
Okay, so for this building and this building on the corner is included in the 15.3 for the new City Hall construction and the direct purchases.
For the construction portion, yes, sir.
The construction portion.
That's the construction portion.
Got
Yes.
it.
So including the money that we owe Culpeper, the 315, which I told you could change, and I believe something in the order of 25,000 for the clock, that gets us to the 341 that the city will be writing checks for. We have not written those checks yet. The total construction cost of this building, which does not include those 4 change orders I talked to you about, $15,716,000. The equipment, meaning the desks and tables and appliances and whatnot, $732,000.
And you're saying that we're asking FEMA to reimburse us for that.
Correct. That's part of that content number I said.
Okay.
And then the rest of the items on this list, we at the city call design, FEMA calls it architecture and engineering, A&E costs. And the A&E costs are $1.5 million if you add up all of those other numbers. I have sorted this intentionally based on the project number on the very far left-hand side. In our accounting system, I pull things up by project numbers. So I can give you documents based on that project number that tie to those dollar amounts. So just in summary, design or A&E, $1.5 million, content, $732,000, and then the actual construction, $15,716,000. And that comes to $18,014,288.
Now, once we pay the open POs of 341, 377, will that be everything that's owed for this building?
That I know of today, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
$451,000 after we pay Culpeper, the Clock Tower, and Florida Architects.
And with Culpeper, you mentioned earlier, like liquid damages, is that referring to them not meeting particular contractual deadlines to reimburse us some monies for
Correct. Liquidated damages per the contract were $1,000 a day. For every day that the construction went over a specific date, they were responsible for $1,000 for every single day. However, I'm told by the architect that we can only really submit for money that we can document associated expenditures with. And that would be the additional rental we paid on the temporary units across the street. So the math is much bigger than what the actual dollar value will be. I know because a representative from Culpeper told me they were seeking to limit the liquidated damages to $50,000. But that's between the city and Culpeper, and I can only report the numbers. I'm not part of that negotiation.
And what was the number that you mentioned earlier that we're hoping to get for liquid damages?
Well, it was $1,000 a day, and they were behind 6 months.
Was it like $1 million something that you quoted earlier?
No,
I never quote a number on that.
the liquidated damages they have to be based upon a loss of revenue to the organization. For example, if Culpeper had not finished the project in a timely manner and we could not move into this building and we're
Right.
still having to pay rent, that would entitle us to liquidated damages. Because we moved into this building and we've been in here for almost 2 years, we are not really sustaining any losses financially. So the challenge is going to be, what day do LDs stop versus when their contract date end was?
Right.
And then what are we entitled to as far as the LDs? Once we get the final CO, which we will talk about that Tuesday, and we can talk about that later as well, then they have to finish the punch list. There's a few minor items on the punch list left, and then we will negotiate out the final payment, and we will bring the final payment to the commission for approval before we write the check.
All right.
Again, please, this is a progress report. This is not a final report. These numbers will change.
So, two things I wanted to point out from this, since we're kind of in a stopping point. You see at the bottom there, the city will be responsible for approximately $7.4 million of paying it after FEMA reimbursement and insurance.
And I'm assuming,
Correct.
and we've already paid that portion though, correct?
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
Why we're in a negative cash position in Fund 101.
Okay. But
And-
we still have the $17 million to pay that 101.
There is cash in general fund. Yes, we are
Right.
solvent.
Right. And that's all I'm just trying to understand. I do understand that that balance is negative, but we still have $17.9 million to cover that $1 million balance. So we're not broke.
No, sir, we are
Okay.
solvent.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to point out, and this is just something that I'd like to see moving forward, is that if you see right in the middle page there, how it says, back in 2022, commission approval of alternate number 5 and number 6. I believe we had around 51 change orders that happened, and these are the only 2 that came before the commission.
Right. So according to our current purchasing policy, there is a 10% leeway of authority in the city, the purchasing of the city manager authority. However, we are preparing a revised purchasing policy that Kevin's office and them have been working on. We are working on our comments to change that policy to either still say 10% or a not to exceed amount of $35,000. We will bring that policy before the commission. That's not the only change. There are multiple changes, but that purchasing policy change and update has been in the works for quite some time now. So we will plan to bring that to you hopefully by the last meeting in September for your review, not to vote on necessarily that day, but to begin conversation with the commission for review.
In regards to the change orders, are all change orders financial expenses or financial purchases?
No, sir, and that's how we have 51 change orders and only affected 8.48% of the contract, because some of those change orders were deducts. So not all change orders were in addition to. So that's how we're going to have to look at the policy of, if it's an additive or a deduct change order, does the commission still want the authority to approve or deny it? Or do they want to give like I said, a percentage or a threshold of dollar amount that the commission votes on, whether it's an additive or deduct? I mean, the commission could deny a deduct change order because they want the work to move forward. So it's just something that you all will have to review and vote on.
Got it. Because I see on the next page where we have all of the owner direct purchases, the majority of those are listed as change orders.
Yeah, so a direct purchase is considered a change order as a deduct. So or just say another project, you have $1 million project and you have $250,000 of direct purchases. So you would do a deduct from the contractor's contract of $1 million. You would deduct the $250,000, and then you would deduct a 6.5% tax savings on top of that. So direct purchase as part of a project are deduct change orders.
So I just counted 25 owner direct purchases. So half of the change orders are basically direct purchases, which would be, as you're saying, is deduct change orders.
And some of those direct purchases could have been combined into one change order. There might have been 3 or 4 direct purchases as one change order. So
Got
there
it.
could be various different ones.
So with each one of these direct purchases, did it actually save us? So it's, as I'm understanding, it saved us money.
Direct purchases do save the city money, yes, sir. They allow the city to purchase any type of material direct from a vendor minus the taxes. So if the contractor was to purchase it directly, the taxes would still be added, which again, the cost would be relayed to the city.
Got it. So of the 51, 52, half of them saved us money based on the direct purchases itself. Now, what if you had like a rain delay or something like that? Is that a change order to change a certain day that you do
So
something?
change orders are also from timing. If there was a hurricane hit and delayed the project by 3 weeks, there would be a change order for time as well. Typically, that's not it's standalone change order. It's wrapped up in another change order with just extending or removing contract days.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So if I could go back to the front page of the cost of City Hall, which is still on the screen. It was mentioned that we have a construction overage of 1.2 million, which equates to an 8.48% overage. There is much talk about audits. Please be assured, we have a city annual audit every year. And I have brought these to the auditor's attention. I have handed them all of the change orders. I have given them the contract. I have given them all the documents they require. They went through this and said, you're okay. You're under your 10% based on your current purchasing policy. It's up to you to decide if we're going to change that. All right, and was mentioned also at the bottom, the funding. The 5.2 from FEMA specific projects that I discussed on the other piece of paper. The Bailey Bridge project, which is 428 and therefore fungible to a different project, we're assigning to City Hall for 1.486. The insurance recovery amount, Tetra Tech's number of 3.79 million. The total funding for this building, $10,571,000. Therefore, the difference between the $18 million that we're obligated for and the funding of 10.5 leaves the city portion of the project at $7,443,000. That will be paid out of general fund.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't know if you remember this. This is what we were briefed at the strategic planning
Yes, sir.
workshop about the City Hall rebuild. And when I add all this up, I get $17,280,729. Yours shows $18,014, which gives me a difference of about $733,000. And I think that's because of the new City Hall equipment is what's not included on here.
I was not the author of that document.
I get it. I understand. So my question is, the new City Hall equipment, is that something that was approved by the commission? Do you know?
I don't recall, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
It just says, yeah, it says
Yes,
new
ma'am,
City
that's
Hall
all the
equipment.
furniture, and that's basically to fill this building.
I just don't remember voting on that, and maybe it was included with something, but I don't remember.
I do not know, Commissioner, but we can go back through minutes and look.
All right, thanks.
All right. So the direct purchases, which is the second page of that stapled set for the audience, those, as discussed earlier, are deducts from the Culpeper contract in order to make the tax savings. So just generally speaking, rather than buying doors from Culpeper, who would have to go to a vendor, pay their wholesale rate and the taxes, then they would mark it up with their overhead and then charge the city. We circumvent that and we go directly to the wholesaler and we don't pay the taxes. And therefore, that amount that's called out in the contract is deducted from the Culpeper contract. So the deducts are $2.6 million.
And keep in mind too, the bottom number there, the $2,685,000 is not savings. That is something that we did purchase to help build this building. However, the 6.5% of that on the taxes, that would be what the savings would be recognized to the city.
So the 6.5%, and then possibly, as Kiki mentioned, maybe the upcharge of what
Correct.
the contractor would do.
You do save money purchasing directly than you do letting the contractor do it.
Excuse me for interrupting. I believe in the contract, The tax savings was at about 200,000. It might have been 207, if but that's an estimate for me, please. At the end of the fiscal year 2025, $21,650,000 is still owed on the disaster recovery bond. That's in the spreadsheet that you've seen multiple times, that is now and has been on the website for years. Starting in fiscal 26, payments for the disaster recovery bond will be made from the general fund. That's $2,800,000 approximately each year, until we receive additional funds from FEMA. Should cash come in from FEMA, I will use that against the $2.8 million each year. But for today's discussion, I am budgeting $2.8 million in the general fund for the debt service of the 2019 bond obligation. Any future funds received from FEMA will be used to pay down the disaster recovery bond. And again, the slide that shows you the disaster recovery currently is at $21,650,000. It ages out in 2033.
And Kiki, too, we get a lot of questions, especially sometimes during public commentary, of what is the city's total debt and how to read this form. If you look over the very right, the grand total there, it's broken down by fiscal year, so you can see exactly per fiscal year what the city's total debt is, encompassing general fund and enterprise funds.
And that's at the end of the fiscal year, right?
Yes, sir. At the end of the fiscal year. And this also demonstrates that the surtax bonds were paid off in fiscal 24. No, I've gotten that question before. And then the stormwater debt was paid off in fiscal 25. All right, I've also included in the packet the most recent pay application from Culpeper. Unfortunately, the notary stamped over the balance due, but I have emails confirming that number, and it's the number that you see, $315,659.98. This document was produced in April. Sorry, nope, my mistake. May 28th. That is the most current pay app.
And that is the same document that you all got in your one-on-one meetings as well. It has not changed.
For the audience's understanding, pages 8 and 9, I generally refer to this as a table of contents for the change orders. There are some colored coded bars here. I did not do those color codings. I'm not sure what they relate to. But if you have questions about specific change orders, there's a description next to them, and that can give you some idea of what the change orders were. I'm available for any more questions from the commission and the residents.
Ms. Kiki, you said that, we've made an estimation. I mean, what our general fund is. You put it in the budget that the bond is going to get paid through the general fund now.
Yes.
And if there's any incoming funds from FEMA, you'll ebb and flow the recovery. However, but is there a projection for our general fund, like where it sits now and where it would sit at the end of the next fiscal year?
What I can tell you is at the end of fiscal 24, there was 18 million, I want to say 4, in unassigned fund balance. If I were going to choose one number to look at, and I don't, but if I were going to choose one number to look at, it would be the unassigned fund balance in the audit. And for those of you who are looking on the internet, the audits are published there as well. You can look at the bottom of page 14. It will give you the exact number of unassigned fund balance for general fund. That means that's the money available for the commission's use, how the commission feels it needs to be best utilized.
That's basically the general fund balance.
Things,
For
things that
a-
are not
for-
restricted.
Right.
Yes. Things that are available to you to use as you will.
Is there an average for what that's been year to year in the past?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I can only tell you what it was at the end of fiscal 24.
I think it shows it in our annual audits, what those numbers
Page
are.
14 at the bottom. Any other questions?
So basically, though, that 18.4, which is now what, 17.9, we got to pay real close attention to that because we're required to pay 2.8 every year. And of course, it's like anybody's savings account, it ebbs and flows. So we're going to have to pay close attention to that and try to make sure we keep that healthy in any way we can. Especially as general fund, so we can look at different things in the budget that we can cut back on or whatever. But I just would like to point out that we definitely need to keep an eye on that.
My questioning, my whole line of question is there an average we need to be at based on, every fiscal year every time we get the audit, they give you that balance on page 14, but does that number fluctuate from year to year?
It changes every year.
Changes
Absolutely.
millions or
Honestly, I only looked at the most recent. I couldn't tell you.
we should be trying to keep that healthy, as far as the fund.
So my professional opinion is that number must never go below $10 million.
Thank you.
That's 6 months worth of general fund budget.
Right.
The state tells us any city in Florida should have 3 months. That would be $5 million. The state also tells us that we should have 6 months if we're a coastal community. I think we've learned that lesson. That number should never go, in my professional opinion, should never go below $10 million.
And with what we have now, is that about 8 or 9 months?
At the end of fiscal 24, there was 18.4, I believe, in that neighborhood. So you had that 10 million, I'm telling you, never to touch. And then you had 8 million for over and above that.
Got it.
There's another handout. Does that come from you?
Yes, that was Commissioner Tinder asked about the clock. That's the backup for the clock that you have in your hand.
Or was this part of the project or was this a change order?
1 moment, please. I'm told it was a change order.
And the total is $51,000.
Yes, sir.
Now, are there any FEMA reimbursements for this, or was this covered by FEMA? Or is this part of the? Part
of that, $5 million in dedicated money and the $1 million in the Bailey Bridge money.
Okay.
This change order wasn't brought to the commission, correct?
It was not.
There it goes. You can hear it.
Well, that's one of my big reasons for wanting a forensic on purchasing procedures.
Ma'am.
Please. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah, and I don't have a problem with it being worked on and all that. Some of the neighbors do, but I don't. My problem is it never came before the commission. That's a big ticket item. And I'm sure they would have voted to have it go off every 30 minutes if people wanted it to.
I'm looking for it in the change orders, and maybe I'm overlooking it. 'Cause we have maybe that's the.
Mayor, we will do some more research, but to my knowledge, it wasn't a change order direct to Culpeper. It was paid directly to whatever that vendor is
Okay,
because it was a sole source. To my understanding, it was not change ordered in and Culpeper handled it. It was something done directly by the city, but we will get some more information on that prior to Tuesday.
okay, thank you.
It was Southern Blue Construction.
All right.
You want to take questions from the audience?
Are there any questions on what we've discussed thus far? Any need for clarity on anything we've covered thus far?
So this document, can you tell me why you weren't able to present this for 2 years, as you said at that previous meeting?
Has been on the website for
Well, I'm talking about this whole thing, the documents.
presentation.
Yes, I'm just saying at the one meeting, you said that you had this for 2 years and you've been wanted to give it to Pat. So I'm just wondering why it took 2 years for you to be able to present this, if you can speak to that.
I have been following the direction of
Okay, following the direction of the city manager. Okay. Just for people to kind of understand, because I'm not a math brain, and Judy isn't either. If the city continues on its current schedule as far as what people are paying, for utilities and so forth, if there's no other money coming in, let's say you get all the money from FEMA that you expect to. I know you said that you won't, but let's say you get all that money. What is the financial picture of the city in 5 years on its current course? I know that's kind of a big question, but
Well, it's a big question, and there are a lot of variables.
sure. I'm saying, looking at assuming there's no more hurricanes or, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So are we going to have another hurricane? Or are we going to have another COVID?
Yeah. Let's say we get lucky and we don't have any more hurricanes.
We will be fine. We'll be solvent in 5 years.
Okay. What are reasons why FEMA would not pay? Can you give any? I know there's multiple reasons, but
So why they wouldn't pay specifically for the city hall?
well, for $5 million, why wouldn't they pay any of those things?
The accounts receivable. On the document with the blue and pink bars, they're under 2 lines under the top pink bar. It says City of Lynn Haven Animal Shelter, $600,000. FEMA only pays after the insurance company pays.
Sure.
We received $490,000 from FEMA. Tells me, I have not had access to these documents. Tetra Tech tells me that we received $490,000 in insurance money for the animal shelter. Once we spend $491, then FEMA would begin to pay for the animal shelter. To date, we have spent $73,000 in cash and $48,000 in soft costs, meaning in-house labor. We are nowhere near the $490,000 of insurance money collected for the animal shelter.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, we will not receive that $600,000.
This is one of those things like the federal government, and you hear so many complaints of red tape and bureaucracy. So as the city did their due diligence to save money by using in-house staff to do the work, because it did not cost what FEMA said, you're not going to get above and beyond any additional money. So if we would have went out, demoed the animal shelter, and built a new one, we would have gotten all the money. Would it have been a waste of dollars? Local and federal taxes? Yes. We were able to do it for the $100-something thousand to save money, though we are not going to get all of that reimbursed.
And where would the animals go?
Yes, sir.
They don't have there's not a temporary shelter,
Not my house. And I understand that because, they wanted to replace all the flooring in my house. And I said, I like my tile. I'll leave that. And then there was some flooring I had to replace. But same thing. You try to not do the wrong thing. And I understand that. But again, that's an example. You have to go through the insurance money. So you're telling me there's $600,000 that's included in that won't come
Correct.
to the city. Okay, that's just an example. Okay, I want people to understand that. And myself too, because like I said, I'm not a math
You're talking
person.
about that 5.8 million we're expecting?
The 5.8
I-
that we're expecting, now I've just taken $600,000 out of that.
If I may, are we going to talk about the temporary, wasn't the temporary building that was at a cost of like $20,000 a month or something like that?
Total about 1.3 million.
Right. That was supposed to be covered by insurance, and then the insurance did not pay that. So we've recently submitted that to FEMA, or Tetra Tech has, for repayment.
We are pursuing 2 items that I'm as confident as I can be that we will receive funding for. The additional temporary buildings at $23,000 a month serves, and what's referred to as the Cat Z money. That's the administrative costs that we contract with Tetra Tech. Date, we have spent $2.6 million with Tetra Tech on the schedule with the bars. It tells me that the Cat Z money, they've approved 1.9. So we're negotiating between the 1.9 to the 2.6. So that could be an add of $700,000. See what I'm saying? This is only a progress report. These things are going to change.
And we all know FEMA works really fast, so.
Yeah, it's just been almost 7 years. So is there a temporary certificate of occupancy for this building, or is there a permanent CO?
There's a temporary CO. There was a part needed for the pre-action and BDA system. It has been delivered, and we will give this update Tuesday at the meeting as well. That part will be delivered next Tuesday, the 12th, and will be tested on the 13th. Pending everything goes according to schedule, we will ask for a final inspection to get our CO, and then close out and have a permanent CO for the building.
Okay, good. All right. And what's happening with Old City Hall? I know that was listed on here as one of the expenses, but forgive me if it's open, but I wasn't aware of an opening for Old City Hall. What's happening with
There
that?
has not been a grand opening or a ribbon cutting, anything yet. The building is complete, few minor punch list items, and needs to be cleaned. And then we will get with our communications team and schedule some type of grand opening or groundbreaking or opening ceremony for it.
Wonderful. Okay, that's good news. All right, I think that's all I have for now. Okay, thanks.
James Finch, 410 East 2nd Street. From what I understand, we're about $4 million over on this building. Is that what we agreed to?
So
$4 million.
we were given approximately $10.5 million between FEMA and insurance to design, construct, and fill the building. Just over $10.5 million, and we've spent just over $18 million. We have about $7.5 million that we have to pay for out of pocket, which comes out of that disaster bond and the debt service.
I was just reading here, it's 41321, awarded a contract for $14,488,000, not to exceed. So it didn't take long to exceed that, so it's $4 million over. And when you're talking about liquidated damages to the contractor, with your contractor, you give them liquidated damages on how many days it takes to do the building. So it was $1,000, and so if you 100 days late, it's $100,000. Well, usually you work that out for monthly meetings on a construction project. Say, hey, it rained 5 days or 6 days, so you work all them down, but you do it every month, not at the end of the job. And then you say, well, the architect said, well, we're going to just probably get it down to about $50,000 because if you got to rent a place, that's all you'd be out. That's BS, because I'm telling you something. Y'all moved in this building on 10/10/23, the 5 years Vicky run everybody in here and moved in this building. And they've been in this building illegally since 10/10. And it says a verbal CO. I seen a verbal 6-month CO. Who is Mr. Verbal or Miss Verbal up here? You don't get verbal COs. You know, and that's what they said. You've been in this building with a fire sprinkler that don't work and everything else illegally, and the insurance company, I don't know why in the hell they hadn't had the fire marshal shut y'all down, because if you shouldn't have been in here. And so if I was a contractor, I'd say, wait a minute, how you going to charge me liquidated damages when y'all moving in? And y'all already been in here a year and a half. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, but it's basically $4 million over. Well, when I tried to get y'all not to do this, I tried to get y'all to do the design bill. And I said, the design bill had a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed. So Judy and everybody said, hey, that's what we want to do. The architects, my architect fee and my proposal was going to be $150,000. It's $1.4 million here. And y'all built this building. And they said it was $3 million. You got insurance on your old city hall. So you're going to build for $15 million or $18 million deal just out of the blue. And so this is where we're at. I come in here, I get this. There's 48 pages in this. I counted the pages, and they're back to back. So there's 96 pages, 1,500 or more line items, and we're going to talk about this. But y'all have made some serious problems. When I was trying to get y'all to do this, and I was trying to help the city of Lynn Haven, well, they asked me to meet with Vicky and your police chief and the mayor. So I met with them, and I told them, I says, I don't agree with what y'all doing here. I said, a $440,000 kitchen is crazy. The gym, a $790,000 vault for the guns for the policemen. I said, I can't go along with that. Then in a week or two later, the government will lie to y'all. Y'all need to figure that out. FEMA, all over the country, everywhere they've been, they still arguing on Katrina, and that was 1969. But everybody said, well, let's go ahead because FEMA's going to reimburse us. They'll lie to you. I caught the federal government lying to me. So I get all the evidence. You know, they didn't throw it out. They didn't throw my case out. They said, well, I'm not going to have the federal government lying and cheating and all that, so I'm going to give you all the evidence. Everything the police puts in their file, I'm going to get a copy of it. Well, after I met with the city of Lynn Haven, you know what I got in the evidence the next few days later? I got Ricky Ramey in there wearing a wire on me in my house, my office, wearing a wire, trying to set me up on this. So I come back before this commission, and I said, look, the design bill is the best way for y'all to go, but I'm out. I'm not doing this. I don't want nothing to do with it. And I left. But I mean, up there, I said something about the kitchen, but if I'd have went along with them about the kitchen and all the other stuff, I'd have probably could have got the job, or somebody else on the design bill would have got the job. But I knew this building was going to be a disaster. But I wouldn't believe that y'all would have moved in it when it wasn't prepared just to make a 10-10-23, the temporary CO, verbally, whoever Mr. Verbally is, you know, it's been issued, what's that, almost 19 months ago, 18, 20 months ago? And you still don't have a CO. There's no excuse for that. You know, y'all fired a couple, or you've had some building officials leave, one of them suing the city. There's several lawsuits going on here. So this is not just the only problem, but y'all getting 1,500 line items on this thing, it's pretty hard to figure out. But I can tell you what you did. You overspent $4 million on this building. That's the bottom line. And the architects wrote in 10% for Vicky to do whatever she wanted to. I've done almost $900 billion worth of government work. And that's all I do is government work. In the city of Lynn Haven, this county's been less than 5% of my volume. Everybody thinks I make my money here in Lynn Haven. I'm glad I don't, but you know, but I'm telling you, there's some things that need to be fixed around here, and I hope we're on the right path, because there's only a couple more that's still in the barrel that'll clean the barrel up. But I think that what shocked me the most out of all this thing was the hurricane and, everything, was when this lady got up here and says, I've been waiting 2 years to tell y'all this. But the only thing that had changed in them 2 years that I knew of was Vicky wasn't here at that meeting and the mayor wasn't here at that meeting. That's the only thing that I know that changed. And so, and there still needs to be some changes. But the building, I think that it's going to be nice, but I would like for you to let the people go up there one day and just see this stuff up there. I've never even seen it. I've never seen a $440,000 kitchen. Cap Anderson's, I'd like to come see it too, but I guess, I think maybe y'all need to have open house up here and let the people see it, because you walked in and you walked out. And so that's all I've got to say, and thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I speak to? I just want to add something to what Mr. Finch said. Pat and I were talking about this earlier. We were both at that meeting when the design build was voted on and it passed. The design build passed. And Mr. Finch wasn't necessarily saying that he would do the design build. He even said, open it up for bids.
Right, we went with design build versus
That's
design
right.
bid build.
And it actually passed the commission 3-2. And then the next meeting we came back to, they all acted like it never happened. It was just weird. And Brandon Aldridge, a commissioner then, I don't know where his wife works. I think she might work at Panama City or whatever. He said, nope, they're illegal. We can't do it. And I don't know what happened, but it just was ignored completely. But from a dollar point, sense, it made so much more sense. Everything would have been at the same location and everything. But I just wanted to reiterate, because we were there and we couldn't figure out what in the heck happened. We passed it, and then all of a sudden it didn't exist. So thank you.
Have any more comments or questions from the public? All right.
Christy McElroy, actually, Mr. Finch hit on one. I am curious that you moved into this building before you got a CO. And so because you did that, how will that impact, what Culpeper receives? And then the other thing is, how many additive change orders are still outstanding? No?
There are 4 total outstanding change orders.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other thing is, you talked about a rainy day fund for coastal communities. You need to have $10 million. Is that correct? I'm a little curious if you have any idea what was needed after Hurricane Michael as it pertains to, getting things up and running again. What was that dollar amount that was?
May I answer her question? That was the reason the $30 million bond was issued,
Okay.
was to cover the debris removal.
Okay. So just for debris.
Generally speaking, I think debris came in at 27 million.
Okay.
Something like that.
So I think that's very helpful, right? Because we're talking about a $10 million rainy day fund. All right. You get another Cat 5 hurricane. And I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, but these events are extreme in so many different ways than we have ever seen, whether it's a rain bomb, whether it's, we've got so much impervious surface, whether it's wind, anything. So you just hit the nail on the head. You said 27 million to remove debris?
I think it was in that neighborhood, yes.
10 million didn't even go and begin to get people back on their feet if we get a big hurricane. Okay? You need to make sure your rainy day fund is much bigger than that, so that every employee can continue to collect their paychecks, and you're not just waiting for the government. It's just like, as an individual, you budget yourself and you make sure that you've got enough money at if your house is wiped away. The insurance, you're not dependent on insurance. I think that's a prime example. Thank you for all you do.
I do.
Jerry Parker, Red Place. I just want to convey a comment made by our former mayor, Anderson. FEMA only obligated to restore what the city lost, not to build the city hall of their dreams. Look at the size of City Hall, Police Department, and meeting room before the storm. That is what FEMA replaces, not what you see now. As we went way over budget on this. It should have never been done. This is citizens' money also that is being depleted from this city. We pay your bills. Nobody else pays your bills. Citizens pay your bills. Also, I have a comment about the chaos that happened here on that Friday. I am requesting that cameras be put, and Chris and I, we talked about this the other day, the cameras be put in this room so that there can be video of what's going on when there is chaos occurring, because that does not need to happen again. That was horrible. Thank you.
Johnny Bashir, 11 Louisiana Avenue. I've got one question, well, several things. So looking at the numbers, is what I see is that the change orders, that we went 1.2 million beyond what was approved by the commission. Is that correct on the City Hall rebuild?
Yes, sir.
So that, I just want everybody to know
Construction.
that,
For construction.
okay, what was the total over on City Hall? For construction, okay. So, you know, you talk about money that's been overspent. It was approved. The commission approved it. And just like GAP says, FEMA says they're going to reimburse you for what you had, not what you rebuild. Just like we rebuilt our house after Michael, we spent some of our own money out of pocket. Insurance didn't cover it all. We knew that was the case. And hopefully y'all knew that was the case when we're building much better facilities than we used to have. Fortunately here, if we do get a major hurricane again, this city hall will probably withstand it. We are in much better shape than we were. I'm not saying the money was misspent. I'm just saying we have to realize that we got more than we had before, and there's a cost to that. The second thing I wanted to say is I met with Kiki back in February when I was running for office. She made these numbers available to me then. I've known these numbers since then. All you had to do was go ask her. She didn't bring it to you, but you can always ask her for the numbers. And they're there. This debt service calendar has been in place since December 24. It shows our debt on our disaster recovery carrying out to 2033. We knew we were going to have to be making payments. That was known. If you didn't know, shame on you, shame on us. It wasn't hidden. It was out there available to people to see. I don't want people to think that things are hidden. If people want to be spoon-fed, they need to make sure they tell you what you want to spoon feed them, so you feed them peaches instead of prunes. That's just how we do. Now, talking about I know Mr. Finch had alluded to we're $4 million over budget on the City Hall rebuild, and then we had a not to exceed amount. Not to exceed doesn't include change orders. When you add a change order, you change that not to exceed number is going to change because you're changing it. You're agreeing with your contractor that you want something more than what was in the contract. So there's a cost to that. So while that $4 million is over the original budget, it's not over the original budget plus your change orders. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of ways to look at numbers, a lot of things to do. But those are my general comments. The information's been available. You just have to ask. And you have to know what to ask for. And sometimes that's the biggest thing is you don't know what to ask for. Now, if you as a commissioner were going to the city manager and they're saying, or going to an employee of the city and asking them a question, and they say, I can't tell you the answer to that because the city manager will not let me, you need to bring that to the commission right then, because that's a problem. You can always ask them, and they should always be able to answer your questions. City manager reports to you, and you can talk to the employees. They're not your boss. The city manager's not your boss. You're their boss. And that's where you've got to be at. Just keep that in mind too. That's really all I've got. I did want to, one other question. So you said you're going to project how much in 2026's budget to pay on the stormwater debt?
2.8 million.
So when you say 2.8 million, and I look
Mr.
at
Bashir's, there is no stormwater debt.
I'm sorry, not stormwater. I'm talking storm recovery debt. I'm sorry, storm recovery debt. Thank you, Chris. Storm recovery debt. So, and that's what you're budgeting for 2026. So when I look at this disaster recovery fund cash flow projection that you had, you show a projected cash balance of a negative 1.47 in 2027. Is that after we pay the two that you've got budgeted for 2026, or is that? Am I asking the question where you can understand what I'm asking?
Correct. That includes debt service for 26 and debt service for 27.
So I want to get that clear. So if you budget 2.5 for 2026, we're going to pay that 2.5, and then we're going to owe this next 1.4 the next year.
Every year, 2.8.
2.8. So
until fiscal 33.
That I understand. I'm just looking at your budget and the projected cash balance. Okay. That's this one. So this negative, or the 26 and the 27 is what you're budgeting for each year.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
So I would like to say something just for the record. Thank you, Johnny. But I do need to say this because saying that these numbers were available the whole time is not 100% true. Because our former city manager, I asked her, hey, when I first got elected, I said, so I've been hearing different things about the city hall. So you're telling me, so I said, but the city hall is fully covered by insurance and FEMA, right? And she said, yes. So I was told that it was fully covered by FEMA and insurance. I didn't have any reason to believe that that wasn't true. So why would I then go to the finance director and be like, hey, is Vicky Gaynor, are these numbers right? I didn't have any reason not to believe that. So just for the record.
I got a lot to add to that. I really didn't want to say anything, but it's bugging me. But I will tell you, I went through the same entire thing. And even before you came on the commission, and you probably remember this when you were on the commission, every time we talked about city rebuild, what did I ask? You remember, Perno? I asked, is it all covered by FEMA? Is it all covered in insurance? And what did she say? Yes, 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 it's all covered. And and I don't remember which meeting it was, but there was a meeting where we talked just generally about city rebuild. And like, yep, it's all going to be covered by FEMA, and it's all going to be covered by insurance. And I talked to her for, gosh, it seemed like 2 years I was going back and forth with. And I went to Kiki too, so don't think I didn't go to Kiki, I did. And the thing is, I would get information from her, and she would email it to me, and I had the long spreadsheet where I tracked everything, and I brought more questions, and I brought it back, and I said, I don't understand. You're saying it's all covered, but we're short. What are we short on? And she said, nothing. And I'm like, well, how are we not short on anything if we owe all this money? It doesn't make any sense. And I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so I was going through the same struggles. And I don't know if you guys remember this, and I'm going to say it right here, right now, so everyone knows what happened. But that December meeting, when we talked about her contract, amending her contract, the mayor asked me, like, why I was not a proponent of giving her a pay raise. And I told him. There was multiple policy and procedures that weren't followed, and I brought up city rebuild, and you even spoke up, Commissioner Pernant, like, I would like to know that information too. So you got 3 people up here saying the same thing. And you know what? Did you see what happened at the end of that meeting? As soon as the mayor dropped the gavel and ended that meeting, did you see what happened? Do you remember that? Do you remember? Well, I'm going to tell you what happened. City manager used to sit here, and I sat there. And she laid right into me. She got physically upset with me, and she goes, I can't believe you sat up here and you lied. I'm like, what are you talking about? I gave you this information. I gave you that. She had to call me a liar about 10 to 12 times. And I know the mayor knows about it because I went to go leave, and he stopped me before I left and wanted to know what's going on. I said, I tell you what's going on. You're city manager. 10 to 12, and it's on our evaluation. Anybody want to ask public record request? Go ask public request of our evaluations. It's on my evaluation. I gave it to her. And I'll tell you what, if I ever talked to my boss that way, you know what would happen? I'd be on the market looking for a job. Because the culture that was created in this city was, we're not her boss, she's the boss of us. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of happy employees right now because of the culture and the environment that was created here. So when you come up and say that, you need to understand that too.
Very good. So one thing I do want to say, there was either a debt review committee or the finance committee issued a report that had numbers supplied by Kiki in July 2023 that showed a 13 million plus shortfall in the disaster recovery bond. That was July 2023, and that document's on the city website.
When they originally started, it started at $5.2 million, and I can tell you why that was an inaccurate.
Who came up with that 5.2?
Becky did. She came up with that number. Did she not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's fine. But I want you to know that the information has been there. It's been that 2023, July 2023, we should have all known there was going to be a $13 million shortfall. But it's all history. We're where we're at. We got to move forward. That's what I want to see us do. You know, it's sad we're here. It's too bad we're here. We've got debt. We got to pay off, and that's the thing. And we paid a lot of debt off, but it's still going to be there. We could have paid all the storm debt off and had other debt. We were going to have debt one way or the other. Did we overspend? We've got a awfully nice sports complex out there. We've got a lot of stuff upgraded in the city that we didn't have before. We need to keep that in mind, that the money is gone. But was it wasted? Some think it was, some think it wasn't. As far as seeing upstairs and going on tour, when they did open this building back before, they had a tour. You could go upstairs. I've been upstairs. I've looked at the facilities up there. The opportunity was there. I think that anybody could probably request a tour. If not, I wouldn't know why they couldn't. I know you can't access upstairs easily on a day-to-day basis because you've got to have background checks and stuff because the police department's up there. But that's unfortunate. If it was downstairs, you could get to the gym and stuff where people could use it. But anyway, I'm off topic. The information's been there. It's hard to find, but it's there. Thanks.
Hey, I'm interested in two subjects, and that's it. We only have 3 minutes to talk at commission meetings. During the commission meetings, you guys have listened. One person has not. The person that just left. He hasn't got enough attention to stay here and face this right now. I don't know why. However, here's the point. Citizens have something to say. There are 6 or 7 of us get here all the time and try and mention something to you. We have 3 minutes only. That's it. Staff has a limited amount of time. We cannot rebut what they do in 45 minutes or what that gentleman says for 20 minutes in 3 minutes. Can't do it. So we have to be very choicey on our subjects. And I'm here on my subject. Sir, and I'm addressing you, please get your information about the CO correct. You're 100% wrong. You don't have and never did have a CO for this building.
No, sir. I didn't say we had a CO.
I didn't
we have
say
a
that.
temporary
I didn't
CO.
say that. I'm saying it. That you never did have it. You had a verbal, which is not a legal document. You had a temporary, which was started in 2023 and lapses 30, 60, 90, and 120 days. You have the opportunity to renew it. State does not do that. PO is given by state finance fire marshal only. He's the only one that finishes it. We do not have a fire marshal. We have a chief from fire department. I gave him a package on this. He has taken action on it. Great. He is the only one around here doing it. What you're saying is not true. I suggest you find out the information. My questions here is on the budget, what we're dealing with. Insurance company was supposed to pay for the library. You were given $1.9 million. Out of that $1.9 million, you were taking away 0.6. That left you 1.3. The 1.6 was the architectural drawings and the purchase, or not purchase, but preparation of the land that you already own. That left you 1.3. You were given a white paper on what to use, possibly ideas. You as commissioners did not follow through on it. You were never given that information. It's a pity. That would have solved your problem. Where did the $1.3 million go? I do not see it in the budget. I see a big fat zero in the library. I see a referendum on the election, what you were going to do with it. That referendum was a sham. The thing is, you're solvent. Any CPA can work any amount of numbers any which way to make it look good. You are solvent. You know why? Because the citizens keep bailing you out. You increase our taxes, you increase our assessments, you increase this. However, I'm back to the $1.3 million. Where is it? I was told, and I agree with you, Commissioner, when we asked that lady questions, and I use the word lady, we got nothing but smoke. I was told the $1.3 million was, number one, in the bank. I asked what bank? No bank. I asked the commissioner, where did it go? The commissioner says it went to pay the debt. So we don't have the $1.3 million. Now I'm finding out that's not true. I'm with you, Commissioner. What the heck was the truth that was given to us by our previous city manager? That's bad. We were not kept informed. We were not told. We were not given the correct answers where this money is. My question to you is, in the budget, where is that $1.3 million? My wife and I went through the budget. We tried to find out where it went. Where did it go to the debt? We don't know. Meanwhile, we're out of a library. You've been told how you can get one. Not even opt into that. You've been helped by citizens. Come in 2029, when the debt is paid off, you're in trouble now. You're going to be in deeper trouble. Good point. We are solvent now. Yes, we are solvent. Thanks to you, thanks to the citizens of this town, we are solvent. But in 2029, we're not going to be. That sewer plant is going to hang over us like a hangman's cord. My question to you is, where is that $1.3 million? Are we going to get a library? Are we going to get a media center? Are we going to get a book truck running around? Which is ridiculous. I don't see it in the budget. I think you should address this. You've got a way to do it. Opt to do it.
Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker? All insurance proceeds from Hurricane Michael were deposited into Fund 101, $18.8 million.
Right.
Any and all money associated with the library went into Fund 101.
General fund.
Hurricane Michael Disaster Recovery Fund.
Okay. So it didn't go in the general fund.
It did not.
So that's being told. Thank you. Thank you, Tiki.
I want to clarify something I said, about the 14.4 million or whatever to not to exceed. That means it does not exceed until you have a change order. And the change order comes up here and approved by y'all, every one of them. Then it goes a little bit higher. But that's the only way it does. Every job, I did the airport out there, $140-something million. If it was a $2,000 change, we had to go for the board and get it done. And that's the way it should be done here. You know, I think out of 51 change orders, and there's 48, 49, whatever hadn't been paid, is 50 and 51 and 2 been paid ahead of those. But do y'all remember any change orders coming for the commission? 2 of them? Out of 52, Vicky Gaynor was signing the change orders. Now you got those guys come in here with the architects that I got an argument with one time at one of these meetings. They had 8 or 10 of them in here, and they were saying, we're going to give Vicky 10%. 10% of 14 million is $1.4 million. That she could just change and do anything she wanted to. That's why she didn't bring them up here. That architect didn't want to go through y'all because y'all would question them. If she liked it, you sold her that deal, then they got the deal. And that's what I'm saying. The $35,000, it should never go over $35,000 for the city manager, period. The city of Lynn Haven can wait 2 or 3 days on anything. You know what I'm saying? So you wait 2 days and bring it for the commission like it's supposed to be done. Y'all spend their money. You keep whoever the city manager is at $35,000 or less, and because you can make it a day or two. $35,000 is a lot of Coca-Colas and crackers. You know, ain't nobody going to starve. But I can tell you this, the jobs have been mismanaged, and y'all have taken care of that. It's took a long time to do that. And the mayor, reason I went with the recall, they were talking about the recall, I said, I'll chair it because it's not going anywhere. But something's got to be done. He would come up here, if you had 5 minutes to talk to the city, it'd take you a month because he'd cut you off. In 3 minutes, you have to come back 2 weeks later. So 5 minutes. So what I had to say was going to take 2 or 3 years. It took me 1.5 years to get a deposition that got her job. 1.5 years to do that. Then I had 2 more depositions. The city says that Vicky can't take a deposition, and Lightfoot and Baker, they too busy. It's going to take September the 3rd before we can do their depositions. But I mean, it all goes through this up here. Y'all make the decisions, but keep your $35,000. Don't ever let anybody take $1.4 million and do whatever they want to. That's like going up to FEMA. Somebody that works for FEMA, he might just wash trucks for FEMA. And you go up there and say, what do you think about this, adding this room to the city hall? So, man, I think you need it. And then you go do it, you'd be crazy. But you've got to get it in writing. Because if it's not in writing, there's an old saying, it's a lie when you get to the courthouse. So that's what I'm saying. The 14 million to go up, but only because y'all go up. Don't let her, because there's 50-something change orders that she just done. That's the problem.
All right, I think we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll come back to do the rest of the budget. Is that all you have?
I suggest, since the hour is growing late and talking about numbers can make people's eyes glaze over, I would suggest that we table the rest of the budget discussion for another day when we can come at it with fresh minds.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, it is difficult to get everyone here. If everyone is able, we would definitely like to at least run through the budget. I mean, we can do it at the pace that's so desired, but at least look at the budget and see where we are. We do have a proposed millage rate of 4.5 that we need to look at. We have some projects we need to talk about. So if we can at least have a budget discussion before we lose everyone.
You mean?
Yes, sir.
That's okay. That's what I was saying. Okay.
I'm ready to discuss it today. I was just trying to give you a break.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's just take 5 minutes because I gotta use the restroom. Just being honest, and then I've already finished this whole bottle. So, and then we'll come back and finish the budget, and then there'll be other opportunities to ask questions as well.
You good?
And get through. Thank you. Earlier this morning, I think. Oh, Brittany. No, I was just asking you to check. No, I didn't get a text message. I just didn't want us to blast past that today. Right? Everything.
Getting back into it here. All right, mic's on. All right. So what I'm going to do here is, just for time's sake, for any comments we have, I'm going to limit it back down to 3 minutes. This gentleman here, he was about to speak when I did a recess, so I'm going to let him say what he wanted to say, and then we're going to jump into what Ms. Roman was going to say, and then after that, if we have any questions about the budget. So go ahead, sir.
Thank you for your courtesy. Mitch Oakley, 1208 Massachusetts Avenue, right here in Lynn Haven. You know, we got a chance here to learn something. We're all getting beat up with this. Are you taking notes? We don't need a city manager vested with this much power. We don't need a city manager with that. We need to look at how we govern our city. This is who should be driving. City manager just connects your brains to the feet. So as you get ready to hire another person, let's just don't throw money at it because you can make the same mistake again. Put some checks and balances in there where that manager has to come to you all. Not as an option, but mandatorily. Has to come to you to get okays, and we might avoid another one of these. Because without fail, if you invest somebody with unlimited power and access to money, you will corrupt most of them. As you've seen since this storm. Water started to rise, the cockroaches all ran out. Be careful as you go forward. Let's learn something. Lessons learned is very important here. Looks like we're going to come out of this, maybe if we were frugal, we come out of this and have some skinny days, but this doesn't need to repeat itself. I would challenge you all to do that when you.
Thank you, Ms. Roman.
All right. Harold, if you would put my laptop up on the screens, please. So you have a new looking budget document in front of you. I've placed paper copies on the table, my staff, thank you. I have placed paper copies on the back table for the audience. I have challenged the finance department to win the GFOA Award for Excellence in Budgeting, and I've given them a 3-year time frame to make that happen. That will require some changes to the document that is presented to you. What you see in front of you is just sort of our little baby steps towards that end. They require certain things that are placed in the document that have not been in the document in the past. So you're going to see lots of graphs. There's going to be an org chart. Eventually, there'll be a statement from the city manager. Just be aware that there will be changes and they will come incrementally. All right. So this was our first attempt at it.
This is what I was asking you about the general fund year to year.
That's the budget.
Okay.
Those are the budget numbers.
But it can reflect the balance as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So the blue bars are historical data. The two white bars are the budget, the projections of where we're going to be. And we've developed these graphs for each of the individual departments. So you can see the budget comparison from 2020 to 2026. So you get the idea of, are we going up in a straight line or are we diminishing? Then the circle in the center has to do with how the money is being spent. If it's for personnel or operating, some budgets have capital money, some budgets have debt service. And then the last graph on the right-hand side is how many FTEs, full-time equivalents, that's an HR term, full-time equivalents are budgeted into that department. So if Mrs. Marsh and work 20 hours a week and I work 20 hours a week, even though you have two bodies in front of you, we would be one full-time equivalent. All right. So as I described in the meeting when we talked about the millage, you have set it at 4.5. The document that you have in front of you includes a 4.5. We have a deficit in general fund. Right now with this document, it's the 2.8 million for the debt service that we've talked about many times today, along with approximately $200,000. This also is just a progress report. I do not have all of the revenues from the state. They still have not been published. I was receiving changes at noon yesterday to the budget. So I guess what I'm asking from you is, how much detail would you like me to go into today? What would you like to discuss? And from my perspective, I would like to hear the commission's vision for the future and how we can support that vision through the budgeting process.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may make a suggestion too, if, once you get through to a certain department budget, if you look especially capital projects or significant change in personnel, to ask that department head regarding their capital projects, their plans for fiscal year 26, and the reasoning, if any, for personnel change, mass personnel changes. That way, the commission has a good idea of what projects are on the horizon, and if they feel that those projects maybe aren't as important this fiscal year, or if there is a project missing that you all feel is more important, that maybe we can swap something out.
All right, so are there any feedback for anybody up here that what you'd like to, how much detail and all that? Is there anything specific?
I'd have to give that a lot of thought.
All right.
I mean, are you talking about for today's presentation or what,
First
to
of all,
meet with you or?
how much more time do you want to spend here today? How detailed do you want me to get? Do you want to just specifically talk about specific budgets? Departments, rather, excuse me. You want to talk about a specific departments? Do you want me to go through this page by page? I have done that in the past. That's lengthy.
My opinion is,
Can you go department by department?
that's what I was going to say.
And just talk totals, and then we could talk, and then you could explain that there's a project in this department or what, and then we can take a summation of each department, and then we'll get to the end, and we can
Certainly
get.
do that, and the good news is the PowerPoint slides are geared just exactly to that.
Okay, let's do it that way.
All right, so legislative, this is you. This is your budget. This is, you'll see that for the legislative department, we spend 94% of the budget in personnel. That's a check that you get from the city every 2 weeks. And then there's 6% in operating money. And that's, we've budgeted $6,401. It has to do with travel, training, and some communications, which are your phones and your iPads and whatnot. This, if you look at the position sheet, I'm just going to point this out. I'm not going to go there, but on the position sheet in the past, this was reported at 2.5. I've made the adjustment because obviously you've always been 5 people here. All right, the next budget is the executive budget. This, in the past, was the city manager and her executive assistant. We are now including the assistant city manager in this budget. And that's why you see a third person here in the positions. Again, 77% personnel and 23% in operating. There's $125,000 in the budget for the city attorney. That is the bulk of the operating money. Finance department. I am very happy to tell you that we are currently advertising for a procurement manager. I am also very happy to tell you that along with the interim city manager, the assistant city manager, and I are reviewing a new procurement manual. I feel that this is my number one priority in the finance department, given what we've been discussing all morning. Therefore, that's adding one position here. We have $90,000 in this budget for audit. We spent $100,000 on it this year. It is a comprehensive annual audit. It's the term forensic audit pushes a lot of buttons, but until and unless you give me actual direction of what you want an auditor to look at, I said to the police chief, I said, it would be like me going to him and say, start an investigation. What does that mean? What are you looking for? What do you want them to focus on? Is it a procedural audit? Is it a numbers audit? Is it, you have to give me precise direction. Again, I have $90,000. If we're going to do a separate audit, I'm going to need more money in here.
That's something that Commissioner Tender, we talked about. We'll bring to you a couple different scopes Tuesday for discussion. And then we can look at it. If you all are in agreement of that's kind of the scope we're looking at, then we can reach out to the auditor for a in-depth proposal and know exactly how much we need to add to this budget for that.
Exactly what is this new position of procurement?
Procurement manager. This is the person who's going to be handling the bids and the quotes. And yes, yes.
How is it done now?
We give it to,
So now, say if we have a Ty's lawn care service that he recently did, Ty was tasked with putting the proposal together with all the information, putting the bid package together.
So all the department heads were pretty much
Correct.
responsible for it.
Then,
Okay.
then the attorney reviews it for legalities, and then it's advertised. This, we would go to the procurement manager and say, hey, we're ready to advertise the bid for our ditch digging that we need to advertise in October. Here is the previous bid, update that accordingly, again, have legal review it, and then the procurement manager would advertise that.
Okay. And that's pretty normal, I would imagine, for a
Yes, sir.
city to have a procurement.
We are probably the only municipality around without a procurement manager.
Okay.
and compared to what we're spending now, the way we're doing it now, this new salary, will it be less or more?
We're not paying anyone to bid stuff out now. If it's a construction project, for example, the engineer takes the set of plans, and they have the bid documents, that's part of their task order, and then they advertise it and do the bid, handle the bidding, the procedure, the meetings, everything. Our procurement manager will still be involved in that. This is stuff like the service contracts, the ditch digging, the lawn care, RFPs for continuing service contracts and stuff like that. Currently, we have the debris management bids out. The procurement manager will handle advertising everything, putting those packages together.
Okay.
It will benefit consistency and a third-party review from an employee. That's their job, to do a review, to work with the attorneys and make sure that we're consistently following our purchasing procurement policies and manuals, and also that each process is done in a consistent and equitable manner.
And this will take place of the Chris Forehand thing where we were paying him $15,000 and $50,000 a month.
We've never paid a consultant to bid stuff for internal stuff. It's the engineer or the consultant bids a project that they put together. We pay multiple engineers to put projects together. The entire bid package is a set of construction plans, bid documents, technical specifications. And once that's all together, it's advertised.
You'll still need engineering firms for certain projects, Mr.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we've never paid an engineering firm to put our lawn care bid out or our ditch digging bid or our debris management. That's done in-house.
Is this a outside party we're going to hire, or is this somebody within that has qualifications?
We have not had any applicants within. I mean, I'm not saying we don't.
It's currently advertised, an open advertisement, not just an internal, with specifications of procurement, experience, and certifications. So it's a new position pending the approval. So we're trying to get jump started so we have someone to start in the fiscal year.
So this would take care of the situation that I'd mentioned to you as far as the audit.
It would address a lot of your concerns, yes, ma'am.
But we still need to go back and look at
That's up to you.
Yeah.
All right. The planning department stays with two positions. They're primarily personnel at 80% and 20% at operating. There is $50,000 in their budget for engineering development review. That's their major operating expense.
And that is also a pass-through. Developers write a check to the city for the plan review. We in turn give the task order out to one of our engineering consultants for review. So that is a wash as far as the money.
So
As far as gossip, have we hired somebody for that position yet?
Yes, ma'am. Jennifer Boyer that I mentioned to you, she starts just after Labor Day.
Gotcha.
And I want to add that Director Jennifer Boyer also has experience over building services. So we are going to tuck building services, which has a separate fund, but she will actually supervise both the planning and development, the DO, the comprehensive plan, and the building services functions. which has been that way in the past. This way, someone can go to one building and basically know they're getting their development order, and then they can move to their permitting.
So one of the things I'm noticing is the pension benefit for the general employees is going up. Is there a reason why that's going up?
Those numbers are given to us by Foster and Foster. They're the actuarials for all three pensions. They do their math their way, and they decide how long I'm going to live and the rest of the employees are going to live. And they calculate how much money the city has to contribute in order to fully fund the pension. So they give me a number and I plop it in the budget.
Okay.
I think that's what I was talking about before, the pension. Because this person who spoke to me said, you know, they put 3% or somebody puts 3% into their pension.
Every employee is required to contribute 5% of their salary.
Gross.
City into the pension.
Okay.
The city is required to contribute the dollar amount that Foster and Foster gives me. Whether we have 2 employees or 10,000 employees, they give me a dollar amount. I have to plug that dollar amount in the budget.
I remember
that company puts, they factor in COLAs and stuff like that, right?
There's no COLA on any of the pensions.
No, well, they would. It's a dollar amount based on what people are paid. So
correct. They figure
it'll go up.
Figure I'm going to make a little more money next year.
Right. Yeah. So that they would.
But the pension benefit, the check.
No, the pension benefit doesn't. But they just factor in that people's rates will go up at maybe a certain percentage or whatever.
Correct.
So you can see why that number would rise a little.
I remember we voted on something recently where it gave more benefits to the employees. Was that the pension? That was
the vesting.
That was
periods?
healthcare, right?
That was healthcare.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's healthcare. It was Jennifer's
That is
healthcare
built into the
package.
budget here, the increase cost to the city to cover more of the healthcare premium cost.
Okay, Public Works requires a little bit of an explanation here. We, as staff, have determined that the salaries for the people who actually run the Public Works Department should be allocated out into the enterprise funds. So while we've got a body count there of 3, you basically have 0 personnel costs because they're going to show up in sewer, water, sanitation, and stormwater, right?
You're pigeonholing them.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't hear you.
You're pigeonholing them. You're putting them where they're supposed to go.
I'm trying to be able to give you accurate numbers on what it costs to run all the enterprise funds. All right, facilities maintenance. The personnel number does not change. They're at 81% personnel and 19% operating. The large amount here is for the expendable equipment, and that's for, I believe, for locks throughout city. We're going to relock all of the buildings so that every staff member can get into the building if they're allowed to without a physical key.
Match the same identification badge they have for City Hall. All of the facilities will match.
That's the main difference there. Administrative is 519. We are adding a position here for a receptionist, a full-time receptionist to sit here. The debt service, you see the light blue in the donut in the center? That's the $2.8 million that we have spoken several times about today. That's the reason this budget is different than it has been in previous years. The blue bar in the center, that's a historical number. In 2023, the former city manager instructed me to put the Rails to Trails budget in 519. So that's what that nearly $5 million expenditure in 2023 is. Information technology is 520. We're keeping a staffing of 3 there. There are 40% personnel and 60% operating. Police department. We're having a staffing reduction, but the personnel in amount is still 84%, and we're hovering around $5 million for the police department. That is $4,778,170. Primarily personnel, 16% operating, and capital money this year. Fire department. We have 29 in the fire department. 2 are general employees, meaning the admin assistant and the fire inspector. All the others are firefighters. Their personnel costs are running, is that 56? 56%, operating 20, and we have a large capital expenditure here this year. We're going to replace hoses and a thermal imager camera. That's $101,000. The legislative fire truck that you've heard about that you will be reviewing at the next commission meeting for $980,000. That's fully funded. You see the expenditure here. The revenue will be elsewhere. And then we also have included $278,000 for a rescue truck.
And we also,
Are we going to get the rescue truck this year, or are we ordering it this year?
I believe it will take about 6 to 8 months to come in. And also, we decided to not use impact fees for the rescue truck. It will actually come out of the general fund because we're trying to save the impact fees for the future fire stations if needed, Mill Bayou, Marina Island, for when the time comes. So we're trying to save those impact fees instead of utilize them right now.
So the truck will be, it'll be here before next September?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it'll be in the fiscal year?
Right.
Okay.
And it will be received within fiscal year 26. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, code enforcement is 523. We have 2 positions there. 81% of their budget is for personnel, 19 for operating. Nothing of large consequence in this budget. Building is 524. We're remaining with 6 personnel here. 76% of the budget is for personnel, 24% for operating. And that's $129,000. 100 of that is we have budgeted for professional services. We may be able to change that now that we have a person who's.
You're going to planning and building, the director's going to.
She's going to supervise both.
She will not fill in as a building official. We will still be utilizing Bay County for now until we can hopefully hire a building official. But for now, we will still be utilizing the services of the Bay County Building Department.
How's that working out with the county?
It is great. I mean, we had a couple minor hiccups, of course, but great feedback from the residents that have used it, from staff. We haven't had an issue. So it is.
It costs more or less to use the county?
I believe it would cost less. I mean, we'd have to get you the numbers on previous years.
That's my question.
That is something we have discussed internally of possibly extending this agreement, bringing a formal agreement to you all, and keeping that for maybe the next year or two and seeing how it works out. But we can discuss that further and bring something before the commission.
That would be excellent.
Lease it.
All right, human resources. So I mentioned to you that the assistant city manager has moved into executive. Therefore, you've got a reduction here. We do have a new HR director, and we're going to be putting a risk coordinator into the budget here. This budget was established in 2021, so I do not have 2020 data for here. What I will highlight for you is the insurance liability number, $738,636. A former city manager had me record the liability for the city in the HR department. It will be moved out of the HR department. Liability insurance relates to the running of the city in total. We are going to be getting together, the assistant city manager and I are going to be getting together with the insurance representative to break out the costs of that $738,000 so it can be allocated correctly to the enterprise funds and perhaps to the other departments. But at least we'll get the bulk of this out of there and charge it where it belongs.
It's going to be spread out through all the different departments.
Got a
Yes, sir.
got just a suggestion, or I think I know enough to ask this. I think we've been round and round about the golf cart crossings for our intersections throughout town, and I know we've put it to DOT or whoever about crossings, but I think there was an issue with maybe we could get their blessing if we took on the liability. So would our liability insurance factor into the fact that we could contingently get these crossings for golf carts at these set intersections?
Not familiar with taking over the liability of an intersection as far from an insurance standpoint.
That was an explanation to me as to why we weren't getting them at the time, but I didn't know if that.
I think the language is it is a liability.
It is a liability.
Not necessarily
Okay.
You have to assume the liability, right?
Well, I assume the liability were the words that were told to me, so we would assume the liability, but.
We will double check into it, but I don't think it's an insurance issue.
So you think it's still a no?
Yes, sir.
Something we can't bark at again.
Yes, sir.
Doggone it.
What's the professional services other increased by 97,400?
That is for the executive search firm that potentially you may all be hiring for the city manager search.
Okay.
And the rate study, the overall rate study.
All right, thank you.
And that could go down, or we're guessing. That's a guesstimate.
And just sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Just to confirm that 738, that's the full insurance across the entire city. Right.
For the entire city, yes, sir.
It does not include workers' compensation. That is by department.
Okay.
I was actually told, when I asked the city manager for the name of our insurance company, her answer to me was, I can't tell you that, but you can go to Jennifer. She'll dial the number and you can talk to them. Honest to God. That was the answer. So the whole insurance thing, I think, is something really, I think this is great. I think it's great.
All right, Lynn Haven Bayou Preserve. We'll fund a position and a half there. The director who's in charge of this department feels that is enough staffing to maintain the standards. 76% of the budget is for operating and contractual services, which are the lawn maintenance and the like there. That's $164,000. And there's $69,000 in R&M for buildings and grounds. What I will remind you of is this budget is funded by the Triumph Fund for a maximum of $3.5 million. It's either a time or a dollar value, which is ever hit first. When we run out of either time or the dollar value, the city is going to have to increase the city's portion by, we've been running around $300,000 a year. The other thing to recall is it is beautiful. It is absolutely spectacularly beautiful. It's going to require a lot of maintenance. There are a lot of wood structures out there that are going to have to be tended to. So this budget, I forecast, will increase over time, and the funding will end at $3.5 million.
Kiki, how much do we have left on that balance?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I think we're 4 years into this.
Yeah, we probably need a declining balance on that if we come up a year or two short, right? It's supposed to keep us going for like 10 years, right?
Is anticipated 10 years or most?
Yeah.
All right, the customer service department is 75% personnel and 25% operating. Their large expense is for the postage and courier service, the bills that are sent out, the utility bills that are sent out twice a month to residents. And we're keeping the staffing at 6 there. The streets department has 7 full-time equivalents. They have a capital budget, which is 42% of the budget, and that is for the legislative sidewalks from Minnesota to Mosley, which is being paid by CDBG, so that there's a corresponding revenue against this expenditure of $964,000. And then we're buying a zero-turn lawnmower for $21,500. I think that's 2 of them.
That is 2 zero-turn mowers. And we had also anticipated replacing our asphalt truck this year. However, once we put the budget together, we recognized that was one of the first things we cut. We will make it another year with our current asphalt truck and try to bring it forth again next year.
The 2 lawnmowers, are we going to start doing our own lawn again?
We cut our own grass in most places. I mean, we do have contractors to do some, but this is for the street department that cuts right-of-ways and ditches and stormwater ponds.
Did you have a remote control one?
Yes, sir. We still have that.
The working?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's also replacing one truck for $60,000. That's their capital budget there. All right, next is fleet. It's $549, staying steady at 2 full-time equivalents. 64% of the budget is personnel, 24% is capital. We're the fuel pumps and bridge crane for $45,000, and then an awning for the building for $20,000 for the capital expenditures there. Economic development is $552. This number fluctuates every year, and I always get questions about this. Mr. Jenke holds 2 positions. Director of Economic Development and Director of the CRA. He is great at giving me a calendar every year of how he splits up his hours. So the percentage changes. We're only charging 0.2% of his salary to Economic Development. 80% of his salary is going to CRA. He's not getting a salary reduction. All right, and most of the economic development is for capital improvement. There's $500,000, which is being funded by CDBG for the Florida and Ohio Avenue improvements. And then there's $1.1 million for the Tennessee Avenue, and that's funded by FDOT.
What's the contractual services? For $50,000.
It's right in the middle of the page.
It's for a study.
Oh.
Economic development perspective, where are we at? Where are our shortfalls? Where are the opportunities? What kind of companies, industries we should focus on? And most importantly, this will give us some good ammunition to go after some economic development grants.
Yeah.
Did you budget I know you pay the dues for the EDA for the city?
Yes, I think this is under professional services.
That's under CRA, though, right?
Contractual services is different.
Okay.
We have membership services with 2 chambers, Bay EDA, TPO, and Florida's Great Northwest.
We were talking about the estuary program, too.
There's $20,000 in the budget for that.
Okay, sir. Great.
Sports and Rec is $572, where we will be staffed at 11.5. There has been some change of job descriptions, and again, the methodology in the past was full-time employees. We've moved to full-time equivalents, so that may be part of the skewing here. Personnel is still being half of the budget from operating, and a very small amount of capital, which is $35,000 for the gym floor covering that I believe you've heard about. Parks and Grounds is 573. We're going to stay stagnant at 9.5 FTEs.
While we're on Parks and Grounds too, we want to talk about James Rogers Park as well as the splash pad. So James Rogers Park, we have approximately $1.1 million left in that FEMA sheet that you all saw. Now, it is a 428 project. We could reallocate that to the debt. However, we have met with the residents in that area. We have gotten a lot of feedback. I think Ty received several calls a week or a month on that about the park.
We're supposed to put pickleball over there.
So,
and
well,
courts.
we have two options. Harold, could you bring those up on the screen, and I'll pass these down as well. We have an option with the park, with pickleball, basketball courts, and parking. That's the option that you see there. And then we have another option without the pickleball courts, with just the basketball and playground. Now, staff and Ty and Justin and Bobby also can talk about this as well. We do not encourage the construction of the pickleball in that area. A couple different reasons. One, it's noisy. People don't realize how noisy it's going to be around their house. And two, the parking. As you can see, we're limited on the parking we can put in there. Pickleball attracts a lot of people. Look at the sports park, look at the country club. They just built their pickleball facilities. We are concerned that once it's built, it's not going to be just a neighborhood park. People from all over Bay County are going to go play pickleball there. They're going to park along the roads. The police department are going to be inundated with calls about people parking up and down the streets. So,
And that's one of our worst intersections right
Yes,
there in
sir.
the city.
So we don't have to make a decision today. However, we do need a decision in the next few meetings of how the commission would like us to proceed with this park.
May I put up an exclamation point on this? There is money in the FEMA obligated amount of $1.2 million available for this project. You can choose to use the FEMA money of up to 1.2 for this. However, then those funds will not be available to pay off the deficit on this building. That's the trade-off.
I think the biggest concern with this whole thing and how it all got started was the stormwater. It's a bad area. When it get a lot of rain in a short amount of time, that corner just gets flooded.
Been flooded out completely, and the houses in the area too.
I mean,
2009, it was bad.
It was, and when they redid some things on 390,
And when the Nature Conservancy redid the ditches, and it got better. It got better.
But they definitely need something. It's definitely a problem with stormwater there.
I know Chris is stepping out, but I saw two of these. One had basketball and pickleball. One's without pickleball. I know that there's a there could be a could there be another scenario where there's just a half court basketball and pickleball?
So I would ask Ty and Justin for their input on as well on what people would see. I'm concerned about a half court basketball. I don't know if it would be something that people would actually use.
Older people like half court basketball. They don't like to run the whole length of the court.
It's called slow break.
Yeah, we like to play horse. We like to play horse and pig and 3-on-3.
I think at the time we had two different meetings with the local residents, and pickleball, there was a lot of excitement about us getting pickleball out there. I don't think we anticipated the popularity of pickleball at the time. Justin can certainly attest to the fact that it rained the other day and somebody playing pickleball had a butane torch trying to dry the water off. I mean, this is how dedicated these people are. And if they know there's another pickleball court in town, they'll park in front of somebody's house and walk down there to play. I don't think it's a good idea.
If you only had one court, it would keep folks away from having like two. If you had one court and a half court.
I feel as though if you have one court, you're going to get complaints about wait times. Regardless of what you have, you're going to bring them to that area if you build pickleball courts. If you build it to shake up.
How did this change? I remember when we originally brought up, the concern was about the noise of the pickleball. And then I brought it up again. I thought we're going to do away with it. Like, no, the residents want it. How did that change?
I don't have an answer for you on that, but just with the two different scenarios of design we have, where we can build the pickleball or we can build it identical without the pickleball with a little additional parking.
What about bocce ball?
Excuse me, one of the main considerations that the residents wanted us to take into account is they did not want this turning into a giant parking lot. They wanted us to limit it. I think originally we had 8 or 10 parking spaces. They wanted to shave it down to 4 parking spaces. They want it to be a neighborhood park where they can walk to it without having 15 or 20 cars out there. Pickleball, I think, would completely omit that. We could save probably, I think Bobby has the numbers, or possibly Chris, $200,000 to $250,000 by omitting the pickleball. With that, we can put in a green space, a pavilion, even fence it for a small dog park for that area. There are plenty of options.
I mean, I think the whole idea for this park is to accommodate just that neighborhood, isn't it? So
Yes,
I
right.
imagine you wouldn't get a whole lot of outsiders driving there. I would think you get mostly people walking there to go play
That was-
basketball or take their kids to play on the playground and that.
Yes, sir, that was the intent, but once the word that there's an available pickleball court, I think that would change.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, certainly.
One thing I also want to bring to your attention, there was discussion at the strategic planning meeting about football fields. There's no money in here for football fields.
So, yes, sir.
Correct.
While we're also talking about parks, so as we've all had mentioned in our one-on-one, the splash pad at Kensall Park, where we could put something else there, whether it's bocce ball, whether it's a pavilion. Harold, could you put those up on the screen for, and again, a decision does not have to be made today. However, we do need a decision made if some action wants to be taken on that facility.
Harold, could you, there you go. For the last 2 years, this has definitely been the elephant in the room that we've seen on social and what have you. It's my understanding that, back this up, Harold.
There we go.
There we go. It's my understanding that when the tornado came through, it damaged a piece of equipment that exposed some underlying problems with the splash pad. I take it
Got a little bit of a plumbing issue. They're
Yes.
shutting the water off.
Yes. Anyway,
The elephant in the room is now a little wet, but
the water. I think Bobby has reached out for an engineering estimate, what it would cost to repair the splash pad, because of the underlying water lines that have broken and undermined the concrete. The entire concrete would have to be removed, which in essence would be a complete rebuild. And Bobby, if I'm not mistaken, it was $400,000 to $500,000 is the engineer's estimate. That's a big number to swallow, and what I wanted to be able to do was ask the commission, if that is a huge number to swallow, maybe we can look at an alternative. And that alternative is based on some of the needs we have in the city. If you remember, I guess a year and a half or so back, we started the special event permit process because we were having events that were huge, like at Cane Griffin, where we had a lot of issues. So on our special events, well, Harold, can you go to the next one, please? Right now, we get a lot of requests for special events. It could be business groups, churches, communities, weddings, doesn't matter. We're limited at parking at the Garden Club. There's like 13 spaces. Porter is where everybody wants to hold it because there are restrooms, there's a playground, and there's a pavilion. The problem is limited parking, especially during fishing season. And there's a lot of contention regarding that. Sheffield has adequate parking, but if you get 150 to 300 people in there, the regular park users feel overwhelmed. So what I want to propose is if we choose not to rebuild the splash pad based on cost, Harold, the next slide, please. I'd like to take that green space, the next one, and provide what this community could really use is an event space to where we no longer have to turn down special events. And we turn people down all the time. We're like, sorry, we just can't accommodate what you want to do. So we build a pavilion. The next slide, please. Basically the same pavilion that is at Porter Park. It's shaded seating, plenty of picnic tables to accommodate. The next slide. And what you have here is you have ample parking, you have clean restrooms, you have shaded seating, you have a playground, and you have green space, and not to mention a beautiful view of North Bay. Now that would serve our event space problem. However, during the last election, that election cycle lasted a long time. So I heard from the senior citizens, or a couple of them over at the Senior Activity Club, that they have lost membership because so many of those people went to other locations during the election cycle, and they're struggling for activities. In addition, one of the candidates, when they come to interview, I speak with each department head, not interview, I'm sorry, I ask, where do you feel as a citizen that we're falling short in parks? And that individual, that candidate told me, we treat our kids phenomenal. We have the sports complex, we have playgrounds. What do you have for older adults? And we really don't have anything. And I think we were inadvertently overlooking a segment of our community. So as whether it's part of this, if you choose to do this, or maybe a project further down the line, Harold, if you would, I propose putting in a bocce court. Yeah. What you create here is a neighborhood hub for social connection where you've got people that can play. Bocce is considered, if you Google it, the third most popular sport in the world behind soccer and golf. It's low impact, not a lot of physical activity. Seniors love it. As you can see here, this is, it's a variety of, it's multi-generational. Harold, the next one, more municipal parks are trying to get bocce in there as well throughout the nation. It's something I've never played before, but I can tell you, Tampa has leagues, Jacksonville has leagues, even Fort Walton has a bocce league, and the cost to do it is relatively minor. And that creates a social hub for people to connect within our community.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, I would ask for you all to take the parks to think about over the next few meetings. When we finalize a budget, hopefully we'll have a number. But I will have to ask you if we can conclude our budget workshop for the moment, as we've had a pipe rupture upstairs and it is making its way downstairs. So,
Okay.
All right. Due to situation right here, we're going to conclude our meeting for now. If any citizens out there have anything they want to talk about, come up here and talk to me or whatever. This is kind of an emergency.